Hey, this is Lester Larson with CreativeCow.net. In this tutorial I wanted to show you guys how you could use the powerful RGB threshold preset in After Effects to create a Luminance Mat that you can use to mask things out instead of, going frame by frame using the mask tool, and that just gets really tedious, and sometimes it's almost basically impossible, especially if you're working with water, and specifically in this, splashes. So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about here. So dives in, splash, and as you see, the water is in front of this text that we've added in. Alright, I guess we'll just jump right in. Sorry, I'll just minimize that real quick. First, we'll just import our footage, swim, dive, AVI, and you should be able to get that on the project file from the CreativeCow.net site. I'll just throw this into a new comp, and sorry, this is kind of an odd resolution. The camera I was working with a little bit odd, so yeah. Sorry, there's probably gonna be a little bit up pace because it's quite a bit of stuff to cover in one tutorial, and I might not even be able to get to the reflection part. I may have to do a second tutorial for the reflection part. So we'll just get started here. First we're going to, hold on, let me move this over. Well, some of you may be wondering, how can he be working on other stuff and yet his mini player still stays on top? Well, there's a little iTunes thing. If you go over to Edit, Preferences, go over to Advanced, it's right there. Keep mini player on top of all other windows. It's a pretty good little tip there, I think. Pretty snazzy. But this isn't an iTunes tutorial, so we're going to want to go to Workspace and then go down to Motion Tracking. I'll bring this up, and I'm not quite sure if Workspace is in CS3. I'm in CS4, but if it's not, just go to Window and then select the tracker window. We'll change the source to the swim dive footage, and then we're going to hit Track Motion. We're going to want to track rotation and the scale, because towards the end we do zoom in, so we want to do the scale as well. And I'll just hold on. I'll just put this in a couple of spots that kind of stand out, that would be easy to recognize for the computer. Those two spots look pretty good, pretty original and unique. So that looks good, and we're going to want to track that. Well, first we'll make sure that those spots are in the frame the whole time, which looks like they are. We also want to make sure that these splashes aren't going in front of them, which looks like it is a tad over there, but I don't think it's enough to mess up the track. So alright, so it looks good. Start at the first frame, and we'll do Analyze Forward, and I think it might go out of the frame towards the end, so I'll just stop it before it does. Alright, right about there, and track that forward until the end, which looks like that's about it. That's about our last track. So that looks good. Now we're going to want to do a new null object, and we'll rename this. If you hit enter, we'll rename it Track Dolly. Alright, and then we're going to go over here, edit target, Track Dolly, okay, and we're going to hit apply, X and Y, okay. So there you go, you have your null, and it's staying there the whole time, so it looks like it was a good track. Okay, well, now that that's done, we can put in our text. So Control T, and we'll just type swim team. And I'm using the Franklin Gothic, but you know, you can use whatever. All right, I'll just hit Y to bring up the pan behind tool and bring our pivot over to the bottom center. And hit V to go back to the rear cursor. And that looks pretty good. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to want to duplicate this dolly right here, and we're going to parent the swim team, parent it to that dolly, and then we're going to take these two and we're going to go to layer, print compose, and we'll just call this text for now. Not Texas. Okay. Then we'll go into there and let's turn off this transparency real quick, and we'll do a new solid, and it doesn't really matter what it is, although that's probably not the best solid you'd want. We'll just make it black. Okay, and we'll turn off that dark solid, and then we'll go up to the mask tools and we'll select the rounded rectangle tool, and we'll just actually we'll make it kind of big up here just because the preset's bad on this, and then we'll just scale it down. So scale it down to fit our text, and we'll lock these two real quick, turn this one on, and pull this down just over our text, and turn it off until you think you have it in the right spot, or you could just use the arrow keys. That's probably a little bit easier. So it looks good, and we're gonna put this behind the swim team, turn it back on, and we'll go ahead and switch to transparency. And we're also going to want to parent this to that copied track dolly. And the reason why we had to duplicate that dolly and put it into the new composition is because layers can only communicate with other layers in their composition. They can't jump compositions to get information. It has to be in the same comp. So, and then real quick, just something I did was add a little gradients to each one of these. So effect, generate, where is that? Generate and ramp. And I'll just, if you hold shift, it'll come down straight, and pull this back up, maybe down a little bit, and I'll just lighten this one up. Copy and paste it onto that one. Control C, Control V, and I'll change this to a darker. I guess I'll just move this up, and this one also, and then I think I'm gonna change the color a little bit, make it a little darker on the bottom, and then we're gonna go back to the other comp, and we're just gonna rotate it so it lines up with the pool. But actually, no, we're not gonna want that. We're gonna change it in here, rotate it in here. That way it works with the track. So that looks pretty good. And I'll just move it up a tad bit, and that looks pretty good. Alright, looks pretty good. Okay, so now that's there. Obviously there's not a reflection, but I guess we'll get to that in a different tutorial. Alright, so now the part I've been ranting and raving about this whole time, the splash. We're going to want to unlock this layer. We're going to want to duplicate it real quick. Lock the bottom one, go to this one, and we're gonna want to go up to Effect. Actually, no, we'll just change this back to standard real quick, and we'll search for it real quick. So threshold RGB, there it is. So drag that out onto our footage, our duplicated footage. What we're gonna want to do, I'll just solo this layer real quick. Not a strong one. Is we're gonna want to find the splash point. So right there, right at the splash, and we're gonna want to try and isolate it from the rest of the footage. So we're gonna want to OK. I'm gonna find that. That looks pretty good right there. The splash comes up, and it looks like we're not getting some of it over here. So I'm gonna have to try and broaden it a little bit more. We can find it. The blue threshold, and you're not gonna want to go too much because then you're gonna get, you know, everything basically. So I'd say that's pretty good right there. We can just bring this in a little bit, not too much, but that's pretty good. You can kind of see the splash right here, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to do another effect on it, effect, color correction, and we're going to just go down to hue and saturation. We're just going to want to desaturate this completely. So as you can see, there's the white points where mainly the water is. You know, there's some of this backlying area, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But overall, it looks pretty good. We could even, you know, try and get rid of some of this little area right here by hold on, that should help a little bit. But I mean, as you can see, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And you know, you can tweak a little more than I have time for. So now we're going to want to do one more effect, which is another color correction. We're going to go to levels, and we're just going to want to crush it so that it's completely black and white. There's no grays in between. So this is what's gonna create our Luminance Mat. So having that done, we can now place this above our text, turn it off so you don't see it, but we're gonna want to do track mat, Luma Mat of the swim dive. Well, we're gonna actually call this Luminance. We're going to call this Luminance Mat. And we're actually going to do Luma inverted. And you can see wherever the water is, you have where it's been tracked out. So, but as you can see, it's pretty pixelated. You know, it's not real smooth. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to this, and we're just going to pre-compose it. So layer, pre-compose, Luminance Mat, and we'll hit OK. Then what we're going to want to do, hold on, let's do that again. Luminance Mat, that looks good. Move all attributes to new comp. Then we're going to go over here to effect, and we're going to do a blur, and we'll just do a Gaussian blur, and we'll blur it out, I don't know, maybe a little less, 3. So that looks pretty good. So that way it's just not so crisp. Doesn't look as crisp, you know. And as you can see, we're getting a little bit of red here, and I mean, I've tried a little bit, but it's pretty hard to get that to come out. But as you can see, he's going behind it, which is not good at all. So we'll just do a quick little mask. Do a little mask where he is. So we'll go to the text, and we're gonna hit G to bring up the mask tool, and we're going to just do it to the first frame. Looks like that's about where the first frame is, where he comes in, and we're gonna do a little mask real quick, and we'll have this, and it doesn't need to be, you know, too accurate, especially up here. You know, when he actually is over it, that's when you're gonna want it to look good. But we're gonna want to bring that mask up, do some tract, and so we're also gonna want to stopwatch the mask path, and then we'll just go through frame by frame. I know how annoying this is, but that's just what you're gonna have to do. There you go. See how good that looks. Obviously that looks like crap, but you can spend a lot more time on that. So you may notice that over here it's kind of bleeding on where this white color is. That kind of matches what our splash looks like. And there's a couple other spots over here and over here, and I'll show you a quick way that you can fix that. So you want to go into here, into your Luminance Mat, and you want to find that spot, and you'll make a new solid, and it'll just be black. Okay. And what you're going to want to do is you want to go back to this, grab that track dolly, duplicate it again, copy it, well, cut it, so Control X, and paste it back into here. And that should have all the tracking data on it, as you can see. So we're just going to go over here and parent it to that null object, which is actually the dolly. So as you can see, it stays in the frame and it moves around with it. It's kind of hard to see. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to come over to where those spots were on the text plate, and start at the beginning and select the black solid, hit G to bring up the pen tool, and just mask out or put a mask wherever there is a spot. And I think there's some spots over here. Basically we're just going to want to fill in where those white spots are, because it's saying that those white spots are transparency, when actually they shouldn't be transparent, because that's where the text plate is. So, and we'll go forward until the water hits. So right about here, I'll go ahead and turn that on, so those areas are black. And we're gonna bring up that mask that we just made, and we're gonna hit the stopwatch. And if we come forward, we can see that we're gonna be interrupting our splash right around here. So what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to move these out of the way when our splashes come in. So comes out, and we'll make it come out a little more and a little more, I guess. And obviously that'll be out of the picture, and we'll come back. So now it comes back in. And we can so right here covers it up when we don't want to see any of that area, but when there's the splash, we don't want to interrupt the splash, so we back out. And we can do the same thing with the other one. So right here, splashes, hold on, select the second mask, hit the stopwatch on it, and we'll just put this out here, you know, and then just wait until it kind of calms down. I'm gonna have to move that out of the way. Then, you know, move it back into place when there's no more water coming in here. So hold on, let me delete those. So, and I guess we'll do the same thing to the first mask. So right here at this second, move it a tad bit just to put a keyframe there, and we'll move it right there and out, and then you know, I mean, it's not perfect, and I'm sure you can do much better job, but it does the job pretty good. So, and so there you go. It's pretty cool. And then, you know, obviously you run into some problems when he starts swimming through, but you know, you can probably figure that out on your own. So, and I mean, there's all kinds of uses that you can use this for. I mean, for you know, if you only want to color correct a certain object or something, like say you have a red apple in the middle of your scene, maybe on a table or something, maybe it's an interrogation scene, and you just want that apple to be extra vibrant over the rest of the scene, and maybe the rest of it's even black and white and just the apple is still in color or extra vibrant. You know, you can make an adjustment layer with a color correction that only color corrects that apple, because you can make you know, Luminance Mat that only has that apple in it, and then, you know, make your adjustment layer track that Luminance Mat. And I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it, and I'm sure you all can come up with more ideas and clever ways to use it. So yeah, be looking for that reflection part of the tutorial. Hopefully I'll get to that soon. Thanks again.